Go to the 7th chapter, it is about the regional aspirations. So new challenge came into the force in the 1980s as the Janata experiment came to an end and there was some political stability at the center. This decade will be remembered for some major conflicts and accords in various regions of the country. You see how the politics in India since independence have changed. Okay, earlier it was a planned era, and then there was a war within 10 years, first decade itself there was a war, China's war, then Pakistan's war, then we had the sudden death of Prime Minister Nehru, and then followed by Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri, and there was a split in the Congress. Then emergence in 1971, 1972, there was a huge crisis. Then 1970, there was a Bangladesh war, and then after followed by you have emergency, and after emergency, now we saw that again Congress won the election. Janata Party formed the government. After that, again the Janata Party government did not complete the tenure. Elections were there 1980s, and again Prime Minister Indira Gandhi became the Prime Minister. Now what is happening? Now this decade is basically 1980s decade. It is about new challenge which is happening not from outside India but within India. So earlier years we saw that there was an issue with the China. Then Pakistan was creating some problems with us, and there was a Bangladesh issue. So all this happened. But this decade is basically issues which happened within India. This is basically about the regions. Okay, so this decade will be remembered for major conflicts and accords in the various regions of the country, especially Assam, Punjab, Mizoram, and the developments in the Jammu and Kashmir. See, at the outset, we need to know what are the things which are going to cover in this chapter, which factors contribute to the tensions, okay, for the regional problems here, how the Indian state responded, and what kinds of difficulties we faced, and what are the lessons we learned from these issues. At the outset, we should see how India handles the the problem or the concept of regionalism in India. See, where when in the Western countries, the concept of nation, in the Western countries, most of the countries they they take the issue of regional aspirations as against the concept of nation. Okay, so hence the troops will be sent and that the protests will be crushed. But in India, it is not like that. So we know that India is known for unity in diversity. So there are so many different regions are there. From the beginning itself, we gave we recognized the dual polity, dual governments, and basically we made linguistic based states in 1956. And from that time onwards, we started accommodating people's aspirations within the ambit of the Union of India. Okay, hence wherever the issues happen, okay, regarding the regionalism, may it be Punjab or in in the southern or in the northeast, anywhere within India, we did not crush it up. Basically, we respond to them, and that is the biggest difference between Indian democracy and the other democracies in the world. So in 1980s may be seen as a period of rising regional aspirations for autonomy, often outside the framework of Indian Union. So basically they wanted to some people wanted, some states wanted to leave India, but that is not possible. We have learned that India's the union is not destructible. It is indestructible union of destructible states. The constitution has not used the word federation in our constitution. There is no mention of federation. Okay, because no state can leave India. No state has a right to secede from Indian Union. Hence, that is not possible. So, how Indian state responded to the aspirations of the getting autonomy, and some people who wanted to go out of the concept of the state framework of the Indian Union. These movements frequently they involved armed assertions by the people, their repressions by the government, and a collapse of the political and the electoral processes. It is also not surprising that most of the struggles were long drawn and concluded in negotiated settlements or accords. This is very interesting. It went on for time, but finally there was a negotiated settlements happened. Okay, so the accords were reached after a process of dialogue that aimed to settle contentious issues within the constitutional framework. Yet the journey to the accord was always tumultuous and often violent. So we are going to see in this chapter how these issues were solved. Maybe Punjab or Jammu and Kashmir on the northeast, or in the state of Tamil Nadu in the south, where people were asking for separate state, regional basis on the region, and some people wanted to, even in the northeast, the states want to be not part of India. So how the Indian state, the government, central government responded to these things? Let us see the Indian approach. The Indian nation shall not deny the right of different regions and the linguistic groups to retain their own culture. Article 29 in Indian Constitution. The Constitution has given the right for all the sections of the India that they can have their culture. The protection of the culture and the language is a fundamental right. So on this basis, they can even know further protection. They can ask for more rights. They can protest also. So they basically use these rights from the Constitution and ask for separate states. Okay, so we decided to live in a united social life without losing the distinctiveness of the numerous cultures that constituted it. So Indian nationalism sought to balance the principles of unity and diversity. So basically nation means something, there is something unique, common between things. Okay, hence different countries you can see in even in the West, like France, Germany, they have one language, something to accommodate, something common. But in India it is basically unity in diversity. So the nation would not mean the negation of the region according to India. See, always we should remember, as a student of political science, different countries have different explanations about like what is secularism, and exactly it is same with India as well. Like our secularism is different, even the concept of nation, it is a different thing in India because we accommodate, okay, and we don't negate the concept of region within India. So in this sense, the Indian approach was very different from the one adopted in many of the European countries, where they saw cultural diversity as a threat to the nation. Just take the example of China. They also don't want diversities within the country. They want to have a one China. Okay, whereas India is not like that. It accommodates the diversities. So Indian approach, a democratic approach. Okay, to the question of diversity, it is we have adopted a democratic approach. What is democracy? We allow the political expression of the regional aspiration and does not look up them as anti-national. Even our Indian Constitution gives them rights to form a political party, contest the elections. These things are allowed in India. So we don't have any issues with that. Besides, democratic politics allow parties and the groups to address the people on the basis of the regional identity, aspiration and specific regional problems. Thus we can see after the, in the 1980s, this decade basically there is a huge increase in the regional parties. Okay, earlier there was only single party, we know that Congress was there, then communists were there, and then there was no much regional parties. But in the 1980s, so many regional parties came into the fray of the politics. So thus in the course of democratic politics, regional aspirations get strengthened. And then at the same time, democratic politics also means that regional issues and the problems will receive adequate attention and accommodation in the policy making process. This is also has to be said. Okay, so it is not just starting some political parties. Democracy means you are accommodating the regional aspirations in the policy framework. What is the policy? It is basically a decision of the central government. So we need to include that. So this is our Indian approach. So such an agreement may sometimes lead to tensions as well as problems as well. Sometimes the concern for national unity may overshadow the regional needs and aspirations. Okay. At other times, the concern for region alone may blind us to the larger needs of the nation. So how we balanced it? That was a question. So in this chapter, we are going to see how we balance. Okay. A very important point which I mentioned here, that sometimes the concern of national unity may overshadow the regional needs and aspirations. Like we need to have one India, strong India. Maybe we could deny some genuine wants of the people. And sometimes it may happen that concern for region alone may blind us. Therefore, political conflicts over issues of the power of the regions, their rights and the separate existence are common to nations that want to respect diversity while trying to forge and retain unity. So this is how India has responded. Our approach is not just telling like no, we do not have the diversity. Of course, we want to accommodate the diversities within the ambit of the Union of India. Let us see some areas of tension. The areas of tension, you see, many observers both from within the country and from outside had predicted that India as one unified country cannot last long. So this thing I have mentioned from the first chapter onwards, when Winston Churchill, the other people from the West also thought like India may not be a democratic country for long. It cannot be a unified country, but we prove it wrong. So the same way, like there were so many diversities. So people thought it is not possible to be with one single country. Soon after independence, the issue of Jammu and Kashmir came up. It was not only a conflict between India and Pakistan. So more than that, it was a question of political aspirations. How we see the issue of Jammu and Kashmir? It is not an issue just between India and Pakistan, whereas it is the issue of question of political aspirations of the people of Jammu and Kashmir and the valley. Similarly, in some parts of the northeast, there was no consensus about being a part of India. You see, first Nagaland and then Mizoram, these two states in the northeast, they did not want to be in India. They wanted a separation from India. And also in the south, some groups from the Dravidian movement briefly toyed with the idea of separate country, a Dravidian nation. These people spoke about. So these are the tension areas in this chapter. We are going to see all this. And then about the Punjab, what was the issue with the Punjab, and those things also we are going to see. You see, mass agitations in many parts of the formation of the linguistic states. Today, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Gujarat, we have these states, okay, where among the regions affected by these agitations, like on the basis of language, these states were created. We know that Andhra Pradesh was the first state which made on the basis of language. We have seen this in the first chapter on inwards. Okay, then in some of the southern parts, particularly Tamil Nadu, there were protests happening against the Hindi imposition, making Hindi as the only official national language. There was a huge protest going on in Tamil Nadu, and then in the north there was a pro-Hindi agitation, okay, to make Hindi as an official language immediately. And from the late 1950s, even in the Punjab, people were asking for a separate state, or Punjabi language state. And this happened finally in 1966 when Punjab and Haryana were created, bifurcating, okay, basically a Punjab state into two. Punjabi speaking for Punjab people and Hindi speaking for Haryana. And later the states of Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand, Jharkhand were created. Thus the challenge of diversity was met by redrawing the internal boundaries of the state. Yet this did not lead to the resolution of all problems all the time. So you see how India has accommodated. One interesting figure I will tell you, when India became independent and when we enforced the constitution, during the commencement of the constitution, there are only 14 states. Today we can say there are 28 states, and there is a possibility of creating more states also in the future. So this is how India has accommodated diversity within its ambit of union of states. There is no, the constitution does not allow any state to secede from India, but definitely it allows the people to have autonomy. Okay, the constitution gives way, and it is with the parliament to create new states. We will see about the issues of Jammu and Kashmir in particularly, and then about Punjab, and then Northeast, and then about Sikkim, and then something about the Dravidian movement which I told you in the south. All these things we are going to see in the next class. Thank you very much.